good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to another Winning Wednesday edition of Real Talk, Real Solutions. I am Dr. Anana Pfeiffer Darrell Home. I am the Women and Youth Civility Practitioner, and I am excited today to be sharing another episode of Real Talk, Real Solutions. So you know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, share. I am a I Change Nation Women of Dialogue ambassador, and I love to talk, have dialogue, get your questions answered, and share real talk, but real pertinent information that is affecting our community today. So listen, comment, like, share. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're chiming in from, because today's episode is going to be real good. It's going to be real good. So I'm excited. And you know what? I love to bring various guests that we can feature and highlight that are doing amazing things around the globe. And tonight I didn't have to go too far. I'm in Central Jersey, but I have a sister that's down in, she's not too, probably less than an hour away from me, in Philadelphia. She's from Philly, and she's going to be a guest tonight. And I cannot wait to have this discussion, have this conversation. And you know, as the Women and Youth Civility Practitioner, we focus on the 4 C's: civility, creativity, climate change, yes, climate change, and community. And tonight we're going to add another C to it, and that C is colorism. Colorism. Have you heard of it? Do you know what that is? If not, get your pen and paper, get your fingers ready, because you are going to learn. And I'm excited that we have this opportunity to learn together and explore. So listen, also we're talking about creativity, because the more you hear about this amazing guest, you're going to see why. There she is. Hello, that's Jamala, my sister. She's chiming in. So you know, as you come into the broadcast, make sure you like, comment, and share. Let us know what your takeaways. And it's so important to share the broadcast, because listen, you never know what someone else is struggling with. And I tell you, when we talk about colorism, I know, even for me, as being a brown-skinned girl growing up right here in New Jersey, I know that I experienced, you know, that level of I don't know if I can say even harassment. You know, we used to joke, you know, about being dark skinned, you know, about having a big nose, having, you know, a big head, nappy hair, big hips. And even at that time, I don't even know if I want to, you know, say my age, but you know, back in the 80s, you know, this was something that, but nobody knew. There wasn't really a term, you know, colorism, right? And I'm so excited that I have the opportunity to learn more, to explore more about this. So listen, I'm just giving you some time. Make sure you comment, like, and share, because we are going to get into this tonight. So colorism is most dark-skinned Blacks in the United States. Those that are darker skinned have lower socioeconomical status. Did you know that? They have more punitive relationships with the criminal justice system, diminished prestige, and less likelihood of holding elective office compared to those with lighter skin. This phenomenon of colorism both occurs within the African American community, and it is expressed by outsiders, and most Blacks are aware of it. So as we go into that tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Karen Moore. She is a classically trained pianist. She uses her gifts to play for choirs and churches in the Philadelphia area. And here's what it is. During even her early adult years, she developed a love for poetry and musical theater. And this ultimately led to combining, you know, with her actual music, poetry, and song writing into theatrical productions. And she is performing on stages in Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, and in Atlanta. Now, in May of 2019, the I Am the Color of Beautiful is a global spoken word initiative and movement that was established by our guests. It is a global action focusing on deliverance from the stigma of colorism in communities of color across the globe. Karen through this initiative, is on a mission to liberate dark-skinned women, y'all hear me, from the colorism psyche, that by enabling them to write and perform their experiences through spoken word. And the spoken word workshops that she has, they focus on delivering women from the stigma of colorism. So listen, without further ado, I am excited to introduce to some, to present to others, Dr. Karen Moore, my sister from Philly. Here she is, here she is. Dr. Karen Moore, how are you?
I'm good, beautiful. How are you?
I am excited. I'm excited to have you. I remember I want to say we might have met about 2 years ago now. And, you just looked as fabulous as you do this evening. And, when you stepped into the room, I don't know if you was there before me or after, I was like, look at that queen over there. And here we are, years later, sharing, doing amazing things together. And I'm excited for that. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you.
Thank you for being here. So listen, let's get right into it. Of course, as you know, as I shared, the one thing that, I focus on is really dealing with climate change, civility, creativity, and community. And you tonight, we're going to focus on C's. We're going to go with creativity and colorism. Yeah. So I don't know which one you want to talk to first. I guess we can go right into the creativity. But I want to first know, how did you get involved, and how did you have this passion and this love to even tackle this thing called colorism? Where did that begin? Tell us a little bit about your journey, if you will.
Well, it began with, I have a spoken word production called Poetic Blues, A Sister Story. And in that production, we talk about the blues that Black women face throughout their lives. And we do slavery blues, we do brown skin blues, we do menopause blues for all my sisters out there that had to go through that. We did menopause blues. I even do football blues, which is, we have some comedy in it also. Even though we're talking about the blues, we have some comedy too. So we do menopause blues and football blues, which is football blues is kind of like a take on the fact that my husband loves football and he is like Ghost during football season. So I get football blues. But the colorism issue came with brown skin blues. And so many women came up to me after the performances to say that how much it meant to them to hear someone talk about brown skin blues and colorism. And so I realized that I needed to take that even further than just that simple part of the production, the brown skin blues, that I needed to take that further with addressing the issue of colorism, because there is so much hurt and trauma that women of color, in particularly dark-skinned women of color, have had to deal with throughout their lives. And so many of them have dealt with it for decades. And it comes to a point where we've got to be able to address it. We've got to be able to begin to let dark-skinned women know and understand about their beauty, because for so long we have been told that we're not beautiful, that we're not worthy, that we're not intelligent, that we're not valuable. And that has to change. And so that's where the whole colorism issue came up for me, and addressing it through I Am the Color of Beautiful.
Wow. I am the color of beautiful. Yes. Wow. Now, I know you have traveled, of course, with I Change Nations, and you've had the opportunity. Was it Uganda? You want to tell us about that, and how does that experience even transcend globally, internationally? Were you actually in Africa and you're talking about this and in that regard, and helping girls to embrace their skin tone?
Yes. Well, the interesting thing with Uganda was it was an amazing trip. It was an absolutely amazing trip. It was an amazing experience for me. And one of the real highlights was going to the Kingdom of Toro and actually being in the presence of a reigning African king and the Queen Mother, which was just, to me, I still have trouble really explaining that. And I'm a word person, so, I'm still trying to really get the right words to explain that experience. But I actually had an opportunity to perform Brown Skin Blues in Uganda, which
Wow.
was amazing. And it was so well received. It was so well received. One of the things that I did learn, though, being in Uganda, is that they specifically refer to themselves as Black. They don't call themselves brown, they call themselves Black. So that was interesting to me to actually get that kind of understanding about how they see themselves. But it was so well received, and the women in particularly really, really, really embraced it and enjoyed it, which I was so glad to see, because one of the issues that is taking place in Africa is skin lightening, skin bleaching,
Yes.
because they're not feeling that their Black skin is beautiful. So there's a lot of colorism goes beyond the Black community as an African American in this country. It goes to India. It's in India. Skin bleaching is happening in India. It's happening in Jamaica. It's
Yeah.
happening in Africa.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole idea that dark skin is ugly. It's not valuable, not worthy, and that it has to be changed.
Mhm.
So women are going to extensive lengths to lighten their skin.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, what does that even really mean? I mean, so when we talk about light skin, I mean, and this is why even all of this is so systemic, and it goes back to our history, like, so being closer to white, the lighter the skin, right? Yeah. The more beautiful you will appear, the more accepted that you are. And then again, we don't really talk about it. But we know that this is really happening. Right. And exactly. I think skin lightening is like, one of the top beauty products being sold around the world, as you said. So the statistics, the numbers are real. So I don't know why we're not talking about it, but that's why we're here tonight. Let's absolutely talk about that.
I think we don't want to admit that it still exists. And it's, Lupita Nyong'o calls colorism the daughter of racism. And I think just as many times we don't want to really talk about racism, I think we've gotten to a point now, because of the things that are happening in this country, we are being forced to really address this issue of racism.
Yeah.
And so I think also we're going to be forced to address the issue of colorism, because it does exist, and it is mentally, emotionally, and psychologically damaging to women and girls who are dark skinned. And so it's not only a mental health issue, it's also a public health issue, because it is affecting the health of dark skinned women and girls.
Wow. Wait. So the color of my skin, the shade of my skin affects my health. You got to talk about that. How is that? In what way?
It affects your health in that many women and girls of dark skin have very low self-esteem, a mental health issue. And one of the things that happen when you have low self-esteem and you're dealing with emotional and mental issues, it leads to overeating. Many times it leads to drinking. It leads to different ways that you try to appease yourself to make yourself feel better. So sometimes in girls, it has appeared as over sexuality, because you do certain things to make yourself feel like you are desirable. So you put yourself out there in ways that normally you would not if you felt better about yourself. So it's emotionally and mentally affecting our physical health, because we are overcompensating in other areas. I was a shopper. Mine was shopping. I felt so much better when I went shopping. So, and that, of course, affects your financial health. So there's so many different ways that colorism is affecting our health, because when we're overeating, of course, we're dealing with heart issues and diabetes issues and different other issues that are affecting our health. So this issue of not feeling beautiful, not feeling accepted, not feeling valuable, simply because of our skin color, then, it gets into affecting our health.
Absolutely. And Dr. Sonia, she says, we need to talk to our girls while they are young about self-esteem. We need to let them know how beautiful they are, no matter what their color. And that's what I love about, of course, with Blessed Girls and, and your initiative is that we are now having these conversations and we're talking about it. We're not acting like it doesn't matter, because it
Right.
does, or that, like you said, it's like just the same as racism. Like this is the they said the daughter or the sister too. We have to talk about that because it is certainly happening, and it affects our girls in so many ways. I think I saw a statistic that a dark-skinned girl is 3 times more likely to be suspended in school than a light-skinned girl. Right.
Yes.
I mean, that's just what, like this even goes to, so we're talking about grade school, right? How they're even treated in the educational system, right? That they are penalized and disciplined differently than someone who is of a lighter shade of skin.
Yes. And 7 out of 10 dark-skinned girls feel that their appearance does not measure up, that they are not beautiful. 7 out of 10. So these girls are walking around feeling like they are not worthy, they are not beautiful. And that many times that causes you to act out in certain ways.
Exactly.
And we deal with the stereotypes.
Yeah.
We deal with, okay, so if I speak up as a dark-skinned woman, I'm considered angry and aggressive. But if I don't speak up, then people walk all over me. So now that since I am this angry Black woman, because I'm dark skinned, then okay, I'm going to be the angry Black woman.
Absolutely. I will, that self-portrayal. Okay, and that's what you want me to be, then that's what I'm going to be. And we see that, of course, with working with girls, with Blessed Girls. And the thing is, then we label them as that, so, and even when you talked about the over sexualization and, so the clothes that they're wearing, the way that they think and the thing, but there's something deeper going on there, right? Yeah. And this is one thing that we can even empower our audience to know and understand what colorism is and what really might be underneath the surface, of what you see and how this young lady may be acting out and responding. But this is something that we need to address and help her and support her, if you will.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We've got to really begin to recognize it, and we've got to really begin to see the issue and the hurt and trauma of it, so that we can really address it. And like I say, help these girls in particular not to become women who deal with it for decades, dealing with decades of hurt and trauma.
Wow. And that's good. And I like the way you said it's traumatic. Like we said, we know PTSD, but we don't, that's a large umbrella, right? That we all are walking around with these various traumas. And so I know is also in health care, right? That, of course, we know just a woman of color, but even the shade of her skin, right? That they'll like take her pain seriously, or they take whatever the symptoms that she's saying, right? So she'll get pain medicine or even be considered for different diagnostic testing based upon her color of her skin.
Yes, it's crazy. It's crazy because I'm a dark-skinned woman. You assume that, first of all, we're labeled as being strong. Yes. We're supposed to be strong, so we're not really in pain. You're really not in pain because you're the strong Black woman. Yeah. Because, especially the darker your skin, the stronger you are. This dark skin makes me a strong woman. And so in many instances, we are suffering under that syndrome. And like you say, our pain, our physical pain and our emotional pain is not being recognized.
Yeah. Yeah. This is good, and this is why I was really excited about this topic. And I feel like it can lead and guide us, both of us, as we continue this journey of helping and supporting, girls around the world, to really bring this to the forefront, to have these discussions, but then also create solutions and support systems, and to mitigate the trauma, in that regard. So this is why this is really great, and I think it was another other one, and some even dealing with our criminal justice system and even the sentences, right? I believe there were, much more stringent. So we talk about school, but then, if just something as simple as shoplifting or what have you, the sentence was like the difference levels higher than if a person was more of a fair skinned. How could that be? I don't know.
It's so crazy, and I think that a lot of that is because one of the things, and one of the things that I think is so important is that we understand how we're being portrayed in the media. And I think we have to understand that many times the way that we're being portrayed on film, the way that we're being portrayed on television is sending out a message that, lots of times when you have the criminal in the movies, it's usually a dark-skinned Black man. Usually the hooker in the movies a lot of time is the dark-skinned Black woman. And so when the media is perpetrating us this way, then that's the way society is receiving images of us. And that's how they're looking at us. And even when we talk about so many of the things that have happened in this country, the violence against our men and against our women, the majority of them were darker skinned. When we look at George Floyd, when we look at Breonna Taylor, when we look at Sandra Bland, when we look at some of these people, Ahmaud Arbery, they were darker skinned people. And so many times we're not even really ready to see that or acknowledge that also. But so many ways that we are portrayed, when you see some of the images that come up on television when they're looking for the criminals, they're dark skinned because that is how we're being portrayed to society. And of course, it goes back to slavery too. I mean, we have to talk about the fact that a lot of this goes back to slavery and how we were conditioned in slavery and how we were treated in slavery. And you had the field people and you had the house people, and the house people were treated better. They were typically lighter skinned, but at the end of the day, they were still all slaves. However, there still was a difference in how they were perceived and how they were treated. So when you get to the criminal justice system, they're seeing all these, they've been conditioned from the media, they've been conditioned from old slave mentality that the darker skinned were the ones who were not valuable, and they were the criminals, and they're the thugs, and they're the bad people.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's so subliminal. And we don't recognize that this carries over and it spills into so many areas. I even heard just statistics about marriage, that a darker skinned woman is less likely to be married than a light skinned woman, right? I mean, even with real estate, they were saying like to own a home. I mean, there's just so many things. And this is real Harvard-based statistics research is being done, and not enough, I'm sure. But this is why this is such just a profound, time for us to really, put this out there. Let's be about it. Let's, like you said, deliverance, can take place when we speak our truth. We no longer hide this under the rug. Let's talk about it. Even when we talked about last month, I did a whole month was dealing with mental health in the minority community, and there's no way to escape that. Like, we have to talk about it, just as we talked about diabetes, hypertension, all these other awarenesses. We have to talk about colorism. We have to talk about the reality of this in our community. And I thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And I think one of the other things too is that because of the way that we are looked at and portrayed, we're not seen as, and I say to people all the time who say to me, when people start talking about how poor Black people are and how uneducated we are, and I say to them, where are you getting that from? And what Black people are you talking about? I need to know what Black people, because we get into this whole thing of putting everybody in the same basket. Okay. And what Black people are you talking about? Because we have Black doctors, we have Black lawyers, we have Black CEOs, we have Black entrepreneurs. Not everybody not all of the successful people are bouncing balls or singing. And I'm a musician and and a songwriter, but I'm still saying that, there are Black neuroscientists. You cannot say that Black people are not intelligent, that Black people have, that we have no value, that all of us, because, again, we'll point out that I believe the statistic is still the same, that there are more white people on welfare than there are Black. So, where are you when you start talking about welfare and you start talking about all these other systems? The images that come up are Black people. And, we've got to get to a place where we start to really speak out about that and really start to, especially like I say with our children. No, here's a picture of a Black doctor. I need you to know about the Black doctors. I need you to know your history. I need you to know about Black inventors. I need you to know about, we had a Black president. Hello, people. We had a Black president and a Black first lady. A Black family was in the White House. We're getting ready to have, and I'm speaking it, we're getting ready to have a Black female vice president. So, we've got to get to the place where we begin to say that, no, this is who we are. Yes, some of us may be poor, but we're not all poor. It's not like all white people are poor. Yes, there are some Black people who have committed crimes. There are white people who have committed crimes and every other race that have committed crimes. But we've got to begin to, make sure that who we are giving who we're telling our children we are is who we really are. And that's a very small percentage of the population, but that we come from kings and queens. And they've got to begin to know that you are royalty. You come from kings and queens, that your people were kings and queens in Africa and Europe.
Yes. Yes.
I'm on my rant now.
Come on. No. Listen, this is what we need. Yes. This is what it's about. And it's not being told. That's the real narrative that we really very rarely hear. And that's what we're passionate about changing. That narrative and what kids see and believe. And it's pretty deep, because one thing and the next thing I'm even going to work on is it's our music, right? You're talking about poetry and spoken word. I know. I don't want to get you started, but I want to get you started.
Don't get started on the music. Okay.
Oh my goodness, because what are we saying? As far as our girls, and what are our young men saying about our women? It's just such this domino effect that, we really should be screaming, from the top of the roof, like, this is enough. It's not acceptable. But again, it's all about the system, that'll put this out there. This is what pop culture says. These are the top record sales. Really? Like, I don't know. I don't know what, and of course that's your area of expertise when we talk about music and spoken word and things that and there are artists that speak positivity, right? But you'll never know about them. You got to dig deep, research it to find them down way here, because they're not put it in mainstream, if you will. So
right.
Let's if you want to talk a little bit about that, and then I definitely want to go into the creativity and your music and spoken word, because it's a lot.
Well, I think with music, and one of the things that I find with music is it really grabs people on another level. Music does. Music, I know for me, music, it touches your soul, it touches your spirit. And you have to be very mindful of what you're listening to, what you're allowing your children to listen to, because it gets into your subconscious. Those words get into your subconscious, and many times even a beat can affect you in a way that you're not even listening to the words, but those words are getting into your subconscious. So what are you listening to? What are you feeding your self-conscious when you are listening to music and certain words? And we have to be so aware of it. And aware of, now see, I come from a different era where, my parents monitored what we listened to. There were certain television shows. If I told you some of the television shows I wasn't allowed to watch, you would really know how old I really am. But there were certain television shows that we were not allowed to watch. And my dad monitored it. He would come, I came up in the days of, you didn't close your room door. There was no closing the room door. You didn't have any privacy. You're living in my house. There's no privacy. I don't know what parents do now. I don't know. I don't have any natural children, so I didn't raise any children. But, you know, there was this whole open door thing. You in my house, okay? There's no closed door. What are you doing in there? And my father would come in, and we better not be watching what he told us we could not watch. So I think that we have to get back to, and I'm, like I say, I'm not a parent. I haven't raised any children. I can only imagine how difficult it is in this day and time to be raising children and trying to monitor everything that they're doing between school and their friends and all this other stuff that is going on. But I think we have to instill in our children that sense of pride, and that, you know, somebody calling you a B and a H is not who you are. And that's not stuff you should be listening to, because that's not who you are. And them calling you that, okay, means that they don't value you. Yeah. These men that are out here talking about you being a B and a H and all the other stuff they say, they aren't valuing you. Right. They aren't valuing you.
And calling ourselves that, you know, like, so, I mean, some of the top songs right now on the chart or whatever, what we talking about, you know, this B, this hoe, I mean, listen, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. We have to come back to that one. But go ahead.
It's crazy to me, because my friends, we never talk to each other like that. Yeah. But again, I'm a different generation. I'm old.
No. But
it's other B's and stuff. We didn't do that.
But you know what? It's not even about old, you know, because I mean, my mom is on here, and the thing is, I remember her saying, you know, when we had just the headphones and what you had, the Walkmans, you know, or listen, you ain't going to bed listening to that, you know, it was a smooth R&B at night. Turn that off. You will not be going to sleep listening to it to I Want to Rock With You, Baby. That was not an option. And that's nothing compared to the music right now. So I know exactly what you're saying, but just those safeguards, you know, were put up. And I get it. I'm a mom. I have teenage boys. And, you know, I got one that, you know, is more R&B and classical. Like he knows. And then I got another one. Boy, he about as ratchet as they come. And I'm like, what did you just say? Like, what? Did you hear that? Like, you know, do you think this is acceptable? So to even have those conversations and that dialogue, even with, you know, the men now, it was something I want to say, is it Nettie? She said, did you see this comment? She said, media frames people's perception of us. And pictures of Africa rarely show the major cities, only jungles and the slums, right? And that was what we were talking about, you know, just how the media is so subliminal, you know, we really don't get it. So again, what the music is saying, what the various images, and how that filters into our educational system, our justice system, our healthcare system, right? Every way of life, right? These things, these images, the media itself really plays a part in everything and how it affects our daily living.
It does, even in print, you know, even when we look at print, and we're looking at fashion magazines and things, the few Black women we may see, they don't, you know, they're mostly not dark skinned. And well, there are some now, though. There are some beautiful Black models. I mean, they are Black and they are beautiful. Oh my God.
Right. And I think that is so important, even for us and everyone, even watching, to, you know, a lot of times I'll just circulate the images just so girls could see, just so they can know, like, wow, that's beauty. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's not, you know, Cardi B or Little Kim. Like, no, this is beauty right here. You know, it's not blonde hair and, you know, plastic this and that. No, a dark-skinned woman in her natural state, hair even short, and that is beautiful. Because again, like I think it was Nettie was saying, the images are not as well publicized and promoted. So if we even all, you know, again, as a solution, and I always charge the audience to do that, you know, is when you see these images, or even look for them and share those, you know, on your social media, on your platforms, right? Make sure that girls, and just even us as women, like, I feel good when I see another sister that look like me, you know, is owning it and operating in her beauty and her brilliance, right? It's liberating even to me. So I think the more that we all, you know, take that on and help to promote it, it means a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to be the ones that define what our beauty is. We cannot allow the media.
Wait. All right, Doc, hold on. We say that again for them now. You know, we go fast, but make sure they get this. Say this.
We have to be the ones who define what beauty is for us. We're not going to continue to allow the media and America and everybody else to define what is beauty for the Black woman. We come in all shapes, all sizes, all colors, all hues, and we are all beautiful. And so we have to begin to say, this is what beauty is. This is the beauty of the Black woman. And this is the beauty that I need for you all to come up to. We're here. Well, we need to be. Let me say, we need to be here. Okay. But we need to be, this is the standard of beauty. And I'm telling you what the standard of beauty is for the Black woman. And we have to start demanding that we see more of all beauty of the Black woman in all media. We have Viola Davis, we have Lupita Nyong'o, we have Angela Bassett, and we need to begin to see more and more and more of that, as well as our light-skinned sisters, because Black actresses, as it is, they're having, they have issues getting parts and all kinds of things, which is a whole nother story. But it needs to be a place where, yes, this is beauty and this is also beauty. It's all beauty. And so we need you, America, to understand that this is the beauty of the Black woman. And I think it's a mystery sometimes in some ways, because we are all shades.
Yes.
And we all are different, but we all are beautiful. And I think that, it's still that issue of tearing us apart to the place where, we don't, the light skin doesn't like the dark skin doesn't like the light skin. And that came from slavery. And then, the continued separation of the people, because when you can separate the people, you can dominate them and you can control them. But if we can all come together and all celebrate one another's beauty, then there's no stopping us. And this, I'm telling you, this is the decade of the woman, and it's definitely the decade of the Black woman.
Yes. Yes. That is it. That is it. And that's the thing. It's almost like, was it Harriet Tubman? She was saying, she could have freed more people that they would have known, that they were free. And I feel like that's why we have to definitely step it up. We have to be more vigilant, more vocal, more bold, in our truth and defining our beauty. It's not just in my home. That's why, we're here on this platform. You have your show on, is it Sunday evening? It's like we need more of this, right? So that they can know that this is what's happening, and this is our truth. And the one thing I want you to do is talk more about your initiative and the things that you actually do through the program and the workshops. Can you share a bit of that with us?
Yes. So I Am the Color of Beautiful is a global spoken word initiative. And we are redefining the standard of beauty for women of color. Our focus is on eradicating colorism in communities of color. So what we do is we have workshops. We have spoken word. I do spoken word workshops where I have women come and talk about the color of their skin. One of the questions, it was such a profound question that Malcolm X asked in one of his speeches: who taught you to hate the color of your skin? And so we look at that, and we look at who taught you to hate the color of your skin. Where did that come from? I think it's very important that we understand where it came from. For some women, it came from their family. It came from mothers. It came from grandmothers. It came from aunts. It came from fathers. It came from cousins. So we got to know where that came from and be able to address it. And we address it through writing. And then we go through the process of the writing and giving them the tools to be able to perform if they so choose, which is, I think, theater is very cathartic. And so if they can come and they can perform it and have an opportunity to speak their truth about how they come into being beautiful and seeing themselves as beautiful. We also do panel discussions. And in those panel discussions, we have panelists who come and talk about colorism and talk about, some of them share their personal experiences. And we talk to people and have audience feedback and talk back. And the last one that we had in February was just amazing. And one of the things that we realized, one of the panelists said to me, we had it at one of the local churches here, and he said to me, we need to have prayer because there's so much hurt in this room. And there's so much hurt from what people have been told in their childhood. And I'm talking about women who are in their 40s and 50s who are reliving the pain of something that was said to them in their childhood about their skin color. So we address all of these things. And right now I actually have a Love the Skin You're In campaign, which we're raising money to be able to bring this to girls 12 to 18, because one of the things that I think is so very important is that we begin to address this issue with our girls while they're young. So they don't spend, like I said before, decades with this hurt and trauma and get into their 40s and 50s and have been carrying around this pain for so long. So we want to start addressing it. Girls 12 to 18, we're doing the Love the Skin You're In campaign. And I'm going to be online. I'm going to be doing, it's a 10-week program. It's a 10-week workshop where we work through the issues about who taught them to hate the color of their skin. We help them to write about it, to get spoken word pieces. And then they're probably going to tape them because of COVID. We're not going to be in buildings and things, but we'll probably tape them and have them uploaded to the website so people will be able to hear them and be able to share and encourage them about being beautiful and the beautiful of their skin. So the Color of Beautiful is doing a lot of stuff.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done, I'm sure. A lot of work to be done. And then it's interesting, you just speaking about the hurt of even women. Like it just does. Of course, we can, deal with our young ladies, but that's even, with Blessed Girls and our mentorship and leadership, and even with Moms on a Mission, knowing that hurt and that trauma, if we don't address it, we will be 50, 60, 70 years old, and beyond, still dealing and living in that, and then carrying on, like almost, so we'll do it subconsciously, even in our own families.
Yes.
We still carry that, and then we subconsciously do the same thing, and we may tend to the light-skinned grandkids or great-grands and nieces and nephews. You think that's more beautiful than your, darker-skinned grandchildren. This happens.
It does.
This is
it real. Does. And I hear women tell stories of how, their mothers would say if they were brown-skinned, their mothers would tell them, don't date or marry a dark-skinned man. You need to have some light-skinned children. So it's, it still is going on, and it still is very prevalent in our families. It's happening in our families as well as outside of our families, because anytime, a grandmother can tell a child that, you would be prettier if you were light-skinned. Who says that to their grandchild? Who does that?
That she truly believes that, and that's her own trauma, that's her own self, right?
That's so true.
That's her experience, that's her perspective, that's her truth.
That's true.
And so no one ever really told her different, and that's what I'm saying. Then it's carried down. It's this whole trickle down, years after generation, that is what is carried down and perpetrated throughout our generations, and that has got to stop. That has got to stop. So I thank you so much for that. I thank you so much for that. So let's talk more about the spoken word. Of course, the one of the 4 C's is creativity. And how important is it for us to develop the creativity, of course, of our young girls? What do you see, dealing with spoken word and music? How do you see like transformation happening? How can we use this, developing the creativity in our young Black girls today? And how can that help and be a solution for what we're dealing with?
Well, I think the arts are so important. I think it's so important. And, it many times it hurts me so much to know that arts funding is cut, because the arts are so important. There's so much creativity and so much that, not everybody's going to be a scientist. Not everybody's going to be an accountant. Not everybody's going to be, whatever else it is, those other things outside of the arts. Some of us are creatives, and we were meant to bring creativity to the world. We're meant to write. We're meant to do spoken word. We're meant to act. We're meant to paint. I got 2 beautiful paintings from a young artist today, Karina Brown, 2 beautiful paintings. And I'm telling you, it made me realize that even that the I Am the Color of Beautiful the love the skin you're in even has to go beyond the spoken word. It has to go into other art forms. It has to go into painting. It has to go into dance. It has to go into photography, because there's so many different ways that we express ourselves and that we come to see and know the beauty of who we are. And the spoken word for me and theater is just an amazing way to bring people words that can move their spirits and that can help them to feel. We have the opportunity to give them something that you've written. When you've written something and you feel good about it and it makes you feel good about yourself, and you can give that to an audience, you can stand on a stage and give that to an audience and it be received, and know that you have really helped someone. Someone identifies with you. That's one of the things that I love about theater that I think that film and television miss sometimes, is you can still feel it, but the live audience, the feedback that you can get live, and that it can mean so much to an artist when you get feedback. And for women and girls to be able to write their truth and be able to perform that, it can mean, I can't even begin to tell you really what that feeling is like, and how much it can mean and bring deliverance to not only the writer and performer, but also to the audience.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And I love it because, when you experience it, you see it, you see that transformation, right? And you give the girls, the youth, that opportunity to be themselves. And I, like you said, the creatives, I love them because they usually, most of the times, they're thriving. They're begging for a place where they can be, where they can use these gifts and these talents and these crazy ideas, right? Where they're going to be accepted. And that's so important for us, again, as the older generation, as leaders, to create an environment where creatives can thrive. They can be free and just really, be vibrant and show their brilliance. So this is why this is so important that we have these programs and we have these opportunities for these girls to just be beautiful, be who they are, embrace that. It's incredible.
Yes. And it's so important to encourage creatives, because many times,
who's watching? It's so important to encourage creatives.
Yes.
And I have to say that because we need to just let that settle a bit, right? Because, and I always try to give tasks even for our audience, because we all know who the creatives are, but you don't really know, you know what I mean? Because they might look different, they might feel different, they might do things different, but it is so important for us to encourage the creatives in our life, in our circle, right? So please type that in there, guys. Type that in there, but go ahead, Dr.
It is so important. And I know that many times parents want their children to have success. They want them to be able to take care of themselves and have success. And many times creatives are not encouraged to pursue that creative field, because we bought into the whole starving artist mentality. You want to be a dancer, but there's no money in that. How are you going to take care of yourself? Yeah. But you got to be able to trust and encourage that creative, that there is a way to dance and make money. There is a way to be who you are authentically. Yes. And be able to take care of yourself. So we've got to be able to, there's nothing wrong with having a backup plan, I guess. I'm not sure about the backup plan either, because sometimes, but if this is who you really are, I think that parents have to help their children embrace that. Help them embrace your creatives. Not everybody's, like I said, everybody's going to be the tech person. They're not going to be in IT. I went through IT thing, and it had nothing to do with my parents. It was me. Yeah. I went through the whole IT thing and hated it, because that's not who I am. Yes. I spent money doing the IT thing, and that's not who I am. I am a creative. I'm a writer. I'm a performer. I'm a songwriter. This is who I am. And so we've got to be able to show up authentically who we are, so that you're not living. I tell young people all the time, don't be in your 30s, 40s, 50s talking about woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Okay. Yes. Absolutely. And going for the money or doing what your parents told you to do, or, the job that they said, was the right fit. And I know even as we travel, even globally, you'll see, especially girls, they're taught to be nurses and teachers. I don't know if you've experienced that, and I'm like, the whole class, all y'all want to be the same thing. And then as I talk, and I'm like, oh no, I do love poetry. I like dance. Okay, now we talk. Where my creatives at? Because I know y'all in the room. Like, so you can be free to be that. Let's talk about that. Let's create an environment where you can be free. Let's tap into that. Those hidden treasures, not just what is quote unquote, that good job or that good career. But so I love that, to encourage the creatives in our lives. That's good.
Yeah, and it can be hard. I understand for parents that it can be hard because you're concerned that your child will not be able to support themselves, but trust that, they will be able to, if they're really gifted and they're really passionate and willing to do the work. They've got to be willing to do the work.
True.
Because work, like everything else is, it's work. True. But there is a world of, opportunity for creatives, and we've got to begin to embrace that and encourage them. Yeah. That yes, you can be the next Mindy Copeland. Yes, you can, Misty Copeland. Yes, you can. And not everyone wants to be Beyonce, okay? You can be, okay, let me say, not everybody wants to be Beyonce, okay?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
You can be the jazz pianist. You can be the spoken word artist. You can be the actress. You can be any of those things.
Yeah.
You got to put in the work.
Oh, for sure. And that's, of course, work ethic and all of that. It definitely goes along with it. But that support and that encouragement will certainly help, the next generation, and help us to carry this out. There was something I was thinking about when you were speaking. Is it Lizzo? Is it Lizzo? I hope if my sister's on here, she'll know. She plays the piano and the flute and the piccolo. She does spoken word and that too. I can't think. Somebody who's younger. We just, we had a different generation, but I think it's Lizzo. Jamal, if you're on here, we're my younger crew. Y'all know her, right?
You know her.
But the same thing. She used to play the piccolo and the flute in the band. Right. And so she was an amazing artist, but she even went back to that. So now she's like a pop artist and things like that. And she's a big girl too. So she embraces her bees. Yeah. But that whole thing of music and that talent, and how it helped her musically in that regard. So it's just so important. So I know, so you being a girl from Philly, right? I'm sure you've dealt with colorism, because you and I, we like you say, it speaks before we even open our mouth. People have already put us in, they've already think they know who we are based upon what they see. And so you being a classically trained pianist, right? And then with spoken word, like, how did you develop that? And was it just the environment that you were in? What were some of the challenges? If you can just speak just a little bit of your backstory and the young Dr. Karen Moore and how you got to where you are today.
Well, it's interesting about the piano. I don't play so much anymore, which my mother would just freak out. Because, I started with classical piano. I took piano lessons, and I had parents. My parents were in their 30s, actually. They were older. My parents were in their 30s when I was born. My sister and I were born. And so my parents were, old school in the sense that I asked for the piano. So, you know how kids are. You want to do something, and then 2 years later, you don't. And my mother was like, oh, yes, you do, because you asked for it. And so you were going to play this piano, which I'm so grateful for, because it opened up a whole world. I love classical music. I tell people I love a little bit of everything from Prince to Puccini. I love music, all kinds of music. I love music. And so even though I don't play anymore, I'm doing more songwriting, actually. I'm doing more songwriting now. But my journey was actually, it took me a while to really tap into who I authentically am and to really appreciate my talents and my gifts. I'm going to say it took me 40 years, really. It took me 40 years. And that's why I'm so adamant about telling young people, You know, don't be in your 40s and 50s talking about woulda, coulda, shoulda, because so it happened later in life for me.
Yeah.
To really get to the place where I am okay with being a creative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with being authentically Karen, the creative.
Yes.
It took me a long time to get there, though. You know, it wasn't something that, and you know, I don't know why I felt that I could not be that. I think that as far as my colorism story, my colorism issue happened when I was young. I wanted to have lunch with this boy, and he told me I was too dark. I didn't get what that had to do anything as a young girl. I mean, so what? I'm dark. What does that have to do with anything? But I came to realize it had everything to do with it, because as you grow up, you know, and you're not the first to ask to the dance. Right. You know, you're not the first to be picked for plays and things like that. So I think that might have even, now that I'm thinking about that might have even had something to do with my stepping away and not embracing that earlier in my life, that it took me into my 40s before I really embraced being this talented writer, producer, songwriter. I do all of it now. You know?
Yes, I love it.
40 some years to do that. So, you know.
Right. No, that's good. And that
long. Anybody listening, don't let it take that long.
Don't. That's why I'm so crazy and passionate about these types of discussions and conversations, and even Blessed Girls itself, because the same thing, like, you know what, I went through all of this time, right, to get to a point where I can be my authentic self, where I can embrace it, be bold, be you, because this is who I am. You know what, you like it, don't like it, that's really not my concern. Right. So the whole point, you know, the premise of Blessed Girls was, let me go back. If I can go back and find that 12-year-old me, and I can love her, and I can encourage her, and like you said, and encourage the creatives and inspire them, then my job is done. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's about. That's the mission, you know, in that regard, when we deal with our youth. So I totally get that. So I just enjoy the conversation, and I know that, listen, we're going to be doing more. I know we're going to start to develop how we can work with you in collaboration with Blessed Girls, or do something virtually, start some various activities or what have you. So I know there will be more of Dr. Renata and Dr. Karen. We definitely, you'll see more of us. Be clear of that. That is for sure. That is for sure. So any last closing thoughts for the audience before we close tonight?
Like I say, I just want to really emphasize to encourage your creatives. Yes. You know, let these girls and boys be who they authentically are. And, you know, you can consider yourself blessed if you've given birth to a creative.
Yes.
That is a true blessing, that you brought a creative into this world.
Yes. Well, so listen, I thank you, Dr. Karen Moore, for being here tonight. And of course, you with your creative, bad, beautiful queen self, and being the spoken word woman that you are, I had to end, and I'm sure you know this poem and this quote by Marianne Williamson. And the question is, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And it is our light, not our darkness, that most frighten us. And we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? When I say, the question is, who are you not to be? So listen, this is Dr. A signing off. Real talk, real solutions. And you know what I say, be bold, be you, and be blessed, girl. Love you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and share, and let's keep the movement going. Real talk, real solutions. Be blessed, guys.